Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not.
To be very clear, Jimmy Kimmel was not fired because of his ratings or anything like that. And he also did not say a single negative thing towards Charlie Kirk, towards Charlie Kirk's family, towards anyone who loves Charlie Kirk. He didn't say anything like that. He was sacrificed on the altar of the tiny, hurt little fifis of Donald Trump because they say a comment that he made where he was saying that the right was trying to imply that the killer was whoever you want. It doesn't matter. Just don't speculate that it could be a groyper or something. He said that, and he also mocked Donald Trump, callously moving on from a question about Charlie Kirk to talk about his fancy ballroom or whatever. Those are the two things that they would have you believe were so utterly unacceptable that he needs to immediately be fired. Going on the air and calling for the forcible euthanizing of millions of the unhoused apparently that does not cross the line. Brian Kilmeade is still very much employed at Fox News. But again, all of that's just cover story. Donald Trump has been pushing for Kimmel to be fired for literally years, and they did that. Brendan Carr, the head of the FCC, put pressure on the broadcast companies, implying that their licenses could be pulled unless they got rid of Jimmy Kimmel, and that's what they did. And that, there's a very good case to be made, is actually against the law. There are multiple Supreme Court decisions, unanimous Supreme Court decisions, that make clear that the federal government cannot use the pressure of its power to force broadcasters to do these sorts of things. So it's entirely possible in the future Brendan Carr will face the legal ramifications of that. We'll see. But I make all of this clear just because I recently started tweeting again a little bit. I don't know why. It was a bad idea. But all of the either MAGA people that all pay $8 a month to Elon Musk to be on Twitter, or the bots, all of them are chanting, it wasn't Trump that fired him, it was ABC that fired him. I mean, that is the most baby brain, smooth brain stuff. I mean, they were cheering Brendan Carr for putting pressure from the federal government on them. They know exactly what happened. And let's be very clear that it is not enough to get rid of Colbert. It is not enough to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel. They are gonna go for way more than that, which is gonna be very clear in this clip.
I read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. I get 97% negative, and yet I won it easily. I won all 7 swing states, popular, won everything. And then 97% against, they give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr. All they do is they Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party.
So that is the dear leader saying they're not allowed to criticize me if they want to keep their licenses. Again, every right wing of the country is like, I didn't see that, I didn't hear that. No, it was Kimmel's ratings, or it was really offensive. That's why he was fired. Donald Trump is being made very clear that no, this is just about criticism. This is about converting our media into like the media under Orban or North Korea or any other dictatorial regime. That's all this is. 97%, I won everything. You didn't even get the majority of the vote, you jackass. But anyway, let's now pull in to the conversation Brett Ehrlich, who has not had a chance to comment on any of this as he's been in Japan for the past couple weeks. Brett, as a comedian yourself, what do you think about the new flavor of free speech we have here in America?
Like, I am looking and waiting for the comedians who were against left-wing cancel culture to be against this. Some of them are. I checked in on Flagrant, and though Schultz wasn't there, Akash was there, and what the thing to me is everyone's mischaracterizing what Kimmel said. You pointed out that he didn't say anything bad about Charlie Kirk, which is true. But he also didn't say that the guy who shot him was MAGA.
100%, you are totally right.
Everybody. I listen to podcasts from people on the left. As also a Shakespeare guy where you have to obsess over what is in the text and not in the text.
Yeah.
Him calling the dude MAGA is not in the text. As a writer and a comedian who has written for shows where you need to set up clips and you need to write scripts like this, he is covering the coverage. That's what we call it. In this, it is literally, we call it covering the coverage. It's very awesome from if everything down to fair use perspective. It's what the Daily Show does, where you are covering the reactions to stuff and you are calling out the ridiculous reaction. That was a setup line for exactly what he did next, which is like, here is, everybody on the right is saying this is not one of us, it's one of you, and people on the left are saying it's one of you. It's the kind of joke that there's a version of it like it's bad for the Jews, like you're like, I hope it's not one of us who did this thing. That's what it is. That's the trope he's kind of playing into.
100%.
But everybody is pretending he said this guy was MAGA. The only clips I can find about Charlie Kirk are from Jimmy Kimmel or him saying like, it is tragic that the guy was killed. And we all believe that. And for me, I'm also an ABC News employee, and I have been for over a decade, right? And I've also not only worked for ABC News, I've worked for Disney shows. Like there's a lot of stuff you can't say on Disney because it's Disney. There's stuff that won't, after some of the takes we say like that's not gonna get on because it's Disney. And that's usually just for like appropriateness for an audience. That kind of dies out after 10 p.m. And you can't show a monkey on ABC, like a live monkey, unless it's in very specific situations. And this is what I want to get into is the shift in the reason why a network fires someone or takes them off the air. It used to be that you get taken off the air or suspended if you jeopardize a sponsorship. And that's if the consequence looming was we lost $1 million on this one show from Unilever, right? I call this commercial ballast. It keeps your content from veering one way or another because we've got to sell soap, right? And that's it. But this has changed completely now. Yeah. Things people are leaving out is that most of the companies that buy up local affiliates and sign contracts with ABC, those companies are wildly conservative. And John Oliver's done a great job of outlining the must-run content that they give to their local affiliates, which is itself so much more polarizing and so much more political than what Jimmy Kimmel is saying on his show. But rather than jeopardizing $1 million on your show, those affiliates are like, because of this one show, we won't do any ABC content at all. And they're all owned by like 3 companies. That is, if people like Theo Vaughn are looking for a cabal of people who run everything, that's it. It's a bunch of them saying, we want a more conservative America and our ideas suck. Our ideas are horrible. If we were in charge of entertainment, Lex Luthor would be the hero and not Superman. So we need to use some other thing. And the president colluding with them through the FCC, this is what fascism is. It is the alignment of the state with private corporations in ways that are distinctly, to shift it a little bit, anti-American as we understand American. But now ABC, NBC, CBS, they're like, I can't get any shows out. My entire already dying business model is now in danger of suffering more. And so Jimmy Kimmel, on whose back a metaphorical target was painted by Trump months ago, suddenly he falls after Colbert. This has nothing to do with anything other than the president, who they say is such an alpha male cool guy, is a puss.
100%. He can't take Colbert and Kimmel's jokes. Edgy, really edgy comedians. You know what else he can't take apparently? Whoopi Goldberg, because Brendan Carr is now suggesting the FCC should look into The View for ABC because those women are so mean to Trump. He really does have a very soft spot for women. And by that, I don't mean that he likes them. I mean that he's pudding soft when it comes to their criticism. He wants Whoopi Goldberg, I guess, taken off the air. And he wants the Code Pink women who screamed at him while he was eating dinner. He wants them in jail.
That's insanity.
is a tiny little baby boy. Brett, I don't know if you would approve the imagery, but yesterday on the show, I said that we got to stop calling these people snowflakes because that doesn't properly get across exactly how sensitive they are. They're actually tiny little pre-bruised scrotums. You can't even tap them. They're so sensitive to even the slightest pressure.
Sean, that's disgusting.
And that's who he is.
And I think you
It
should
is.
be
I
taken
did
off
it
the air.
in your honor.